Hi guys, William Morris here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new Keepforest library called Devastator Breakout. So the library is made for both the full and player versions of Kontakt. You need 6.6.1 or above, and this is definitely one of Keepforest's biggest libraries. So the install size on mine is actually 27 gigabytes. Now I should clarify up front that there are two versions of this library. So one is Core and the other one is Pro. The Core version is $299 and the Pro version is $399. Both are currently a little bit cheaper. I think they're on some sort of intro sale with Keepforest. So the Pro version, which is the one I have here, contains everything that the Core version does, but the big difference with Pro is this special patch here, the Breakout Pro Patch. And I'm definitely going to go into this in more detail in the rest of the review because it's a really sort of different to the rest of the library. You also get an additional folder of WAV files, which is also based on this patch here. And there's a folder in both versions that has all the WAV files for the core stuff as well. So the UI is very similar, if not identical, to the other Devastator libraries. So I'm going to mostly skip that and just dive into a lot of the sounds because there's so much to get through on this one. If you do want to know more about the UI, I covered it in my Devastator Warzone review, which I did a little while back. I'll try and add a link. Okay, so you can see all the different categories we have on the left, and these are actually just folders. There's more inside of them, so you can see there's a huge amount of patches. Just looking at signals here, there's all different types of signals as well. So this really is a kind of full spectrum kind of library. Okay, so I'll just go through in an order, otherwise we're going to get a little bit lost. So we're in the hits category, and the first patch is organic hits, which is the one I'd actually already got loaded. And this covers your sort of typical whoosh bang and big hit sort of one-shot sounds. Just a sample of a few of them. So the nice thing on the UI here is that we can do this from hit thing, which is really cool. So if any of them are the whoosh bangs, like this one, we can just hit from hit and it will just go straight to the kind of transient hit of it. I really like this feature and I wish this was in every library that had whoosh bangs in. Okay, that's a few of the organic hits. Let's try some wide hits, which I'm guessing are wide as in stereo. So yeah, again, whoosh bangs and hits, but definitely with a sort of really wide image on them. Let's move on to some epic tight hits, I'm guessing. So yeah, it's hits again, but it's got a bit tighter, a bit cleaner in terms of the sound design. Let's have listen to some far hits. So I'm guessing these will be big verby ones. Yep. So yeah, useful when you've got the space for them and you really want to kind of hear the tail and the decay of them. Let's try some of the booms. Should point out, if you're listening on like a mobile device at the minute, you probably won't hear any of these at all. very subby, but they do have some kind of, yeah, mid and high in them as well. So yeah, fairly typical boom category. If you have any other Keepforest libraries, I mean, there's definitely always going to be some crossover because the same categories do come up each time. So you're going to probably already have some booms and things like that. I think really when they release a new library, it's kind of a similar toolkit, but kind of different flavors. And I guess it also means if you're only going to buy like one of their libraries and a big one like this one, that you've still got some of those essential kind of categories covered. Okay, so we've got some noise tails and reverbs, which I'm guessing are just the decayed kind of part of the sound. Yep. I like these because typically I'd make stuff like this, you know, just kind of cut off the decay or the verbed part of like a big hit. And they're really nice for kind of intro sections or more sort of, you know, less full featured sections where you kind of just need, you still need a hit, but you don't want anything that's kind of too overbearing. So it's nice to have those. Okay, so there's reverb tails as well. So I'm wondering if this one's too different. Okay, yeah. So similar kind of concept, but they're just, yeah, with a lot more verb on them. This probably brings me to one of my other points about this library, which is just the amount of different sounds you have per patch. I mean, I know it seems like a nitpicky thing to sort of say there's too many sounds, you know, it's almost like you're giving me too much for my money sort of thing. But in terms of browsing, I mean, if I'm looking for these types of sounds, do I really want to browse through what's got to be 40, 50 different versions of something that's, you know, fairly similar? I think if it were me, I'd love to see some of these patches, you know, cut down by half or more, really, just to make sort of navigating and browsing them that much easier. But I know it is kind of a nitpicky thing. Some people are going to love having all the options in there. All right, so let's try some saturated tails. So another variation again. These ones have obviously got a bit of a push on the saturation front, so they kind of got that mid presence. So let's try some of these massive slams. I'm a big fan of these kind of things. They're sort of not quite a roll and not quite a hit. They're kind of in between. That's nice, I like that. Yeah, really useful. I'm liking those, definitely going to be using some of those. So this is just organic slams. Again, I'd maybe want less of these. I don't want to browse all of them when I'm looking for these type of sounds. I think, yeah, even half this would be enough for me. All right, so that's the hits category. I mean, these are hits as in they're basically one shots. You know, there's no round robin, or they're not kind of playable in that sense. They're meant more for your kind of big accents and first beat kind of stuff. But now we're going on to the drums. So we have some playable kits. So this patch is very similar to, I think, one that was in the Devastator Warzone library. So these are kind of rock style layouts, as in they have like a kick, snare, toms, hi-hats, etc. But they've all been given these different sort of flavors. So you've got modern trap, you've got hybrid cinematic. I think there's probably some pop and stuff in there as well. Yeah, rock, modern. So let's just have a listen to a few. So yeah, really punchy. These sound great. These are very useful for those kind of crossover styles of trailer music. Let's just listen to maybe a couple more of these. Yeah, these are awesome, really useful. And there's so many again. You've got like, yeah, 32 different kits. I'm gonna have to try this one. It says Lord of the Breakbeat though. Yeah, these are cool. I like these. If you do have them in Warzone, this might be kind of quite a lot of crossover for you, but again, it's nice to have them. So now we've got gun handlings, which if you've seen any sort of action trailers, this is kind of a thing that gets used quite a lot at the minute. They're basically gun sounds, but used as percussion. Yeah, great fun. They're really fun to use as kind of drums. I won't do the other categories of these because there's so many. Let's try liquid crunches because I'm actually not sure what these are. Okay, they are super tight. Those like kind of almost sound like the waveforms cut off on some of them, but yeah, not sure on how to use those, but they are definitely sort of really punchy sounding, so I'm sure they'll come in use. Let's try some kicks. Okay, it looks like on this patch they've accidentally saved it in stretch mode instead of the full playable mode. So yeah, with all these, a lot of these patches, you kind of have this normal layout, which is all the different sounds mapped to one per key. And then when you choose one that you like, you put them into stretch mode, and then it maps that one sample out across the other keys, so you can kind of tune it basically. So it just looks like on this sample they've maybe accidentally saved it in stretch mode. So yeah, here's some kicks. I mean, they all sound great. They've got so much kind of punch on them and exactly the sort of right balance of that nice attacky layer as well. Again though, I question whether I'm going to audition this many, but yeah, they sound awesome. Let's try some snares. Yeah, they're cool. Yeah, they sort of sound like they're borrowing from, you know, electronic music genres quite a lot. So again, really kind of useful for those crossover styles. Let's try some cymbals. Yeah, fairly standard stuff there, but really nice to have. Some hi-hats. So yeah, they're not round robin, but I mean, in those sort of genres and styles, I mean, it would often be like a drum machine kind of thing anyway, so that totally works in this context. Let's try some metals. So yeah, just some nice high metal elements. Percussion. So yeah, these are sort of high percussion, but anything that's not necessarily a metal. We've got the ever popular Tocks. For your kind of ticky clock sound kind of noises. Let's try some toms. Yeah, nice. Some really meaty kind of tom sounds in there. But hopefully you guys can see what I mean when I start to say this is one of the bigger libraries they've ever done. Really a lot of content. RR just stands for round robin, so these are rubber drums. It's a little bit odd that they've programmed these with the arpeggiator on, because you can just turn it off and play them normally, but with the round robin. So if I go into rhythm and just turn off this, it's basically just this step sequencer that's doing the pattern. So I could just turn that off, go back into main, and then they all just become individually playable, but still with a round robin. I actually really like these. They're kind of tight enough to play like a faster pattern sort of thing. And they've still got, you know, a lot of body to them as well. So let's do this. This will be the same, just with taikos, obviously. So let's just turn that engine off again. They do sound like they've had a lot of the highs taken off of these, but I guess they might sort of blend quite well with something else if that has the punch on top. And yeah, nice to have process sounds, but still with round robin. You're probably going to be playing these as actual patterns, so it's nice when they're not just completely machine gunny. So this taikos again, just close. And again, let's just turn that engine off. They're really cool. Yeah, the same thing but with punches. So these are all sort of variations on similar kind of sounds, I would say, because I'd probably use them to do kind of a similar thing. I like those, they're really snappy. So we just have a general percussion one. Yeah, nice. A bit more like the TikTokies, but not as high up. I'll just do one of these drum loops very quickly. So these are all stemmed out across the entire keyboard. You can see they've kind of color mapped it. So you get a waveform to kind of let you know what's coming. Yeah, these bottom ones are basically just the low parts, so they're quite sparse. So we'd maybe have to kind of play a few at once to get a full loop going. That kind of thing. This one's interesting. Rooms and spare tones. Sorry, space tones. Interesting. Sort of like an ambience Atmos kind of thing. Nice, they're nice and minimal. All right, so that is the drums. Let's try some bass and Braams. They're great. I kind of wish sometimes with these that you had a bit more control over the really sort of subby low layer. I always think a lot of these actually sound better when they're kind of a bit cleaner. But yeah, definitely going to cut through your mix. Let's try brass and Braams. Yeah, pretty similar. I'm not too sure what the real difference between those is. Nice thing with all of these, again, is you can do the stretch mode. So once you found one that maybe you quite like, you just hit stretch mode and then it'll map it out across so you can kind of play it along with chords or something. That's just really quick and easy to do. Let's try signature Braams. awesome. It is nice that they separated these kind of, you know, more individual sounding signature ones away from the regular kind of ones. Let's try some distortions bass. So yeah, still a bit Braamy, but they're not as kind of brassy Braamy as some of the other ones are. Let's do some hybrid. Cool stuff. So that's the brass and Braams. Let's try some of these bent sounds. We've got Braam versions of them. So this is pretty similar to the Braam category, but obviously everything's got a kind of pitch bend added to it. And the nice thing with all of these is you can change the key center as well. Okay, so there's a signature version. So yeah, again, the signature ones are the kind of more individual sounding ones. Let's go for distorted. I mean, they're all distorted, but this is apparently especially distorted. Yeah, awesome. And again, so much to choose from. Lead ones. So these are, again, pretty similar, but they've obviously just not got the same sort of bass low-end content that some of the others do. We also got some short versions. Yeah, cool. And really useful to have short ones separated from other ones. You know, if they were kind of just putting these all on one big patch and you had to kind of go through to find some short ones that are going to suit your piece, it would get pretty tedious. These ones are specific. Not sure what that means, but... Okay. So yeah, again, with a bit more of a signature kind of sound to them. All right, so that's some of the bendy sounds. Try signature effects. Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. I guess there is potentially sometimes a bit of an issue with having signature sounds from a library, because there is always that possibility that people are going to start just using the same signature stuff. But these are very good. And I'm sure if you're on a custom job and you've got only a few hours to turn around a piece, this is definitely going to come in handy. Let's try some of the modern ones. Yep. Bass versions. I do like having the waveform here when you're auditioning. It kind of makes it really fast to sort of tell a little bit about what the sound's going to be before you even complete it. Let's try some short ones. It's nice like that. Yeah, there's some really great stuff in this category. Let's do some alarms, soft ones. Yeah, I mean, I guess the term soft alarm is a little bit of a contradiction sort of thing, but I can see where they're kind of coming from. It's definitely a bit more muted here than like a full-on alarm. So let's try some of these full spectrum ones. Keep hearing elephants. So yeah, these are the more full-on versions. Okay, so we've got some Tenet stuff. That's interesting. Yep. That's definitely pretty Tenet sounding. I do really like these, they're really cool. They're almost like the opposite, you know, to when you have a kind of low, steady pulse. This is sort of the super kind of amped up version where the rhythm just gets exaggerated so much. So those were the soft ones. Let's try the full spectrum ones. And as you can see, all these have been done in the step sequencer. Yeah, really cool stuff. So that's the alarms, and I guess pulses as well. So let's do resonances. I'm not sure what these are actually as a category. It's kind of a new one on me, I think, the resonances. So these are hybrid. Kind of a bendy Braams sort of thing. Interesting. So yeah, they are sort of pretty resonant sort of sounding stuff. Yeah, somewhere between a pulse and a drone kind of thing. Let's do some low ones. Nice, really kind of dystopian, yeah. Signature versions. Nice, yeah, those are great. Let's try some classic ones. I guess that resonant peak kind of thing definitely makes it jump out of the mix more. Okay, and so we've got some atmospheric long versions. Cool, yeah, I like them. I'll just do one of the shorts. Yeah, pretty similar there. Trying not to make this video like 3 hours long, but it's, as you can see, it's a pretty massive library. Slow motions. All got kind of bubbly, underwater kind of vibe. Yeah, not keen on these. Let's try some glitches. Kind of cool. And we got some downers. Nice. Yeah, those sound great. It's tricky sometimes in a downer to keep some of that definition there so it doesn't just all turn to sub. So that's the slow motions. Then we've got some reverse stuff. So reverse bass effects. Nice, that's really cool. So these are regular effects reversed. Nice. Yeah, I mean, reverse sounds obviously always useful and super useful in trailer stuff. Let's try some of the tonal rises. Very long. Can adjust the sample start on these, so. Yeah, nice. Let's get some rise layers. Ah, this is cool. So this is kind of, yeah, the broken down layers of the riser. Yeah, I love these. I mean, I kind of wish they'd do more stuff like this, just the components of some of the full sounds. Because I know kind of going through here that I'll be able to build something that's much more my own. So yeah, really like that one. Rise layers, nice for including that. Okay, Tocks. Yeah, so like full featured loops. There's a part 2. And then I guess these are the individual elements. So we've got low. As Tocks go, these are definitely on the chunkier side though. Cool, let's try some of the mid. Nice. Yeah, good to have a slightly different take on Tocks as well, because I mean there's a ton of stuff out there now that is that sort of more classic high watch kind of sound that seemed to get really popular around that kind of Dunkirk trailer. Let's try some of the elements. Cool, this is nice. Again, so it's like the broken down parts. Just a single layer of sound. Nice. Let's try the other ones. Yeah, still sort of wish these weren't loops though. Kind of prefer it if they were playable. So now I've got pulses. So yeah, when I was kind of talking about the Tenet ones earlier, and these ones are sort of the opposite of it. These have been the kind of big, thumpy, bassy ones. And it looks like these are all loops. Cool, so we've got some kick versions. And lows. Yeah, most of these categories have quite a bit of overlap in them. It's hybrids. Cool. And mids. Nice. That's cool. Alrighty, yeah, so everything that pulses, nicely divided, you know, so you got kind of low, mid, high, and then some kind of special stuff at the bottom. So we've got tonal loops, brass and Braams loops. Yeah, so these are almost like complete mini cues on their own. Let's try some signature ones. The only thing with a lot of these is you're going to have to probably either do a ton of editing and cutting or just use solely these, and they'll all kind of work together. But then you've kind of, yeah, maybe come up with something that's not super original. Sine elements. And alarms. Cool. Yeah, I'm always not a massive fan of like the loop category stuff. Sometimes doesn't feel needed, as you know, these are kind of just like one at the start of each bar sort of things. It's not like you can't just kind of program that anyway. All right, so now we're into the Playables category. So moving away from the effects and one-shot kind of stuff. Got some distortion basses. Nice and chunky. So these ones just operate in a list, and there's 31 of these, which is again quite a lot. I mean, there's definitely some different stuff in there, but again, I'd kind of like to maybe see these categories slimmed down a little bit. So these are bass effects. Cool. It's almost like if a downer wasn't pitched in that kind of descending way. We got some effects leads. Yeah, they sound great and really fun. They have an interesting attack on them. It's kind of like a glide in sort of thing, which I think is what some of these bend ones might be as well. know why this has turned up so much on this one. It's a little bit better. Yeah, I like these. They probably need quite a bit of offset just because of that slow sort of glide in attack thing at the beginning. Let's try some classic ones. Again, they're like super loud for some reason. Always kind of annoys me a little bit when patches are basically clipping when you play them. Kind of means you have to go through if you want to play gain stage stuff properly. Let's try a couple more. Nice. Let's try some of these cinematic synth blocks. Nice, kind of ambient. Yeah, not as aggressive as I was expecting. These would probably make quite nice little ARP patches as well. Yeah, I like these. Wonder what they're from synth-wise. So these are plucks as well, but guitar versions. Yeah, nice. Guitar-y, but not too guitar-y. Yeah, I quite like these. Alright, so let's just do the hybrid ones, and that's the last of these playables. Yeah, kind of like these. I'll dry that one. Nice. All right, so yeah, that basically covers all of the 14 categories. So this is everything you get in the core version, all 14 of these different ones. So yeah, even in the base version of the library, it's kind of massive. And you also get the WAV folder that corresponds with all of these 14 categories. It's just a workflow thing, you know, if you prefer to work with WAV files over the Kontakt instruments. All right, so that probably leads me on to the big difference between Pro and the Core then, which is this Breakout Pro patch here. And you'll see why it's different. So this is almost like a sort of mini sequencer built within Kontakt. So we've got tons of different categories. They're kind of similar to these ones here. So for example, we've got trailer hits, and then I could say I want impact hits. And what it does is loads up all these different layers. So you've got 8 different layers, but they're not just all playing back at the same time. They're basically sequenced, as you can see here in this little mini sequencer. So each layer is represented by one of the blocks. And when you click on each one, you can kind of see which ones they're tied to. So these kind of become like sort of mini sequences. Now, I must admit, when I first kind of opened this patch up, I was actually slightly disappointed because I thought that these were going to be the individual layers of some of these sort of effects and sound design stuff. And I still think it'd be really cool to have that. But I've actually kind of, after playing with this a bit, I've sort of really realized that it could actually be incredibly useful. I'll try and demonstrate it with the impact hits. So this is essentially sort of more or less like a kind of whoosh bang sort of sound, but with all the different layers. So you can see they all play back there, but they're all kind of programmed by the sequencer to come in at a different time. And you can move that, you can move this around as much as you want. But just for the purposes of demonstration, I'll keep everything where it is in placement and just show you kind of how this can become almost like a sort of hit designer that's synced to your host tempo, which is kind of a massive thing really, because I work with WAV files quite a lot, but kind of dragging them in, you have to then get them into the right place. So I have to sort of edit where the start point is in the file, and then I can snap it to a beat or a bar or something. But this way is kind of really nice because it does sync, and you can kind of choose how much space you want at the start as well. So I could sort of say that I want the hit point to be after 1 bar, and then when I play this back, it will hit exactly on the, I guess the first beat of the next bar, if that makes sense. So the end of 1 bar. So you see for that one, I had that space at the beginning, which is just letting it kind of get to the end of the bar. But yeah, this really cool kind of little interface where it makes it super easy to start swapping out and auditioning different sounds. So if you alt-click on the file, you get a completely different randomized hit from any category, which I probably wouldn't use too much because it is a bit too random. But the other thing you can do is alt-click on just the name, and then it will change just the hit in from the same category. You can see here we're going through different organic hits, and they'll all then become synced to their own hit point. So it just makes it so easy for me to kind of go, oh, well, here's my starting point. I'll just take it off the 1 bar thing so you can kind of hear it coming in a bit quicker. So I can say, I kind of like that, but maybe I want to change up this to a different hit. And some of these elements, maybe these high elements, you can also individually play everything back, which is nice. So I could sort of say I'm not too keen on these. I'm just going to turn off those 2 layers. And maybe we'll get a different reverse sound as well. So that's the current one, and I can just alt-click in here and choose something else. So yeah, just a really kind of fun way to audition things in the library. And you can kind of, if you just kept this as like a MIDI event on your timeline, then it's always going to be in sync. So you can literally just kind of click through and audition different stuff with ease. And obviously what I've been doing with the alt clicking at the minute is random, but you can just go in to the actual category and you'll see all the different individual hits, and there's loads to choose from. You can audition everything here as well. So yeah, it's I think it's probably the first time I'll actually consider changing my workflow away from maybe working with WAV files so much, because I do find auditioning whoosh bang type sounds where they're not exactly on the hit, you know, they've got some reverse element at the top, that they're not that much fun to audition because you've got to time them to the track. So yeah, this is for me, this is the big draw of the Pro version over the core one. And the WAV folder that you get with it is basically renders from all of these different kind of setups. So you'll see in the menu that we've got all these kind of different categories. And if I just went on, say, classic signals, the WAV folder is just the renders of what comes out of these presets on the keys. So yeah, I mean, some of these categories are more like just mini cues on their own, which I'm probably not as keen on, but the hits one, I could kind of definitely just use that as a hit designer. And I can see that being a real time saver for me. You know, if I'm just going through this library and thinking, oh, I need a whoosh bang kind of hit, then that'll be the best way to kind of get something. And it just helps keep your hits kind of fresh as well, because I could sort of say, maybe for the drive section, I'm going to leave off like the epic tight hit part, and maybe some of this signal part or something, and then once I get into a next section, I can kind of add another layer into it kind of thing. So you're not having just the same like WAV file played back every time. So yeah, that's pretty much it apart from just this user import one. And this is more designed for one-shot sort of sounds, but it just means you can literally drag and drop into the library your own sounds or any sounds and start using them with the Breakout engine, which is really fun. Like once you get into the rhythm section and stuff, because there's all these sort of pre-programmed rhythmic stuff that you can use as well. So kind of having your own samples to use on that is kind of really cool. So yeah, that's probably it for showing you what's included in the library. I guess to sort of summarize, I'd say the sound design is great. It's always great with Keepforest stuff. The library's absolutely huge, so you really can just cover, I'd say, entire trailer genres with this library, you know, because you get playable elements, so you can have some of your thematic stuff in there, but you also get a ton of the one-shot and drum and bass kind of sounds that you'd need to really fill out an entire queue. I'm really impressed with the Breakout Pro patch. I think that genuinely will make a difference to some people's workflows for those types of sounds. On the negative side, I don't know, I've kind of repeated it quite a lot, but I do think there's maybe just a bit too much choice on some of the patches. You know, once they get up into the sort of 40, 50, 60 different sounds range, it just takes so long to kind of audition everything. But I understand, you know, for some people that's going to be a plus because there's just more variation. I'd really like to see in a future library the sort of Breakout Pro engine used, maybe to kind of do a breakdown of the sounds that they have in these categories. I think they'll just bring even more kind of flexibility to some of the sounds. So yeah, I think ultimately whether this library is going to be one for you is probably going to come down to what you have already. If you've already got some Keepforest stuff, then there's probably going to be some overlap in this library to maybe what you've already got, but there's definitely a lot of new stuff too. It's just that you get so much, it's kind of, there's always going to be something that's already covered. I think if you don't have any of the Keepforest stuff, then this is probably a pretty good starting point, just because it's so kind of all-encompassing. I think especially if you're looking at maybe doing trailer stuff or action sound design type cues, game music sort of cues, this really does have a lot of the things you'd want in one place. So yeah, that's going to wrap it up for me, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this walkthrough. Sorry it's been such a long one, but I really wanted to try and show, you know, almost everything in the library. If you do have any questions, just let me know in the comments and I'll try to get to them. But if not, thanks for watching and I'll see you again on the next one.